What's the word, ladies and gentlemen? This is Andrew, and today I typically don't like making these types of videos for Overwatch just because it is still in closed beta, but this was such a great balanced patch. I figured, it's short enough, I'll just make a quick review on it. So, yeah, I feel like Blizzard's doing a really good job of balancing things out. It's not like so polarizing. It seems like most people in the community are cool with these changes. No one's really crying out loud, at least on the subreddit. But I know, of course, the subreddit is only a tiny percentage of the Overwatch community. Anyway, so first off, we have the quick melee. The damage got decreased from 50 to 30, and then cooldown got decreased from 1.5 seconds to 1 second. So it's a little faster now to spam quick melee, but does less damage. I think the idea, at least what they're saying here, is that quick melee was proven too strong in ability. They're trying to nerf certain combos with quick melee. What I can tell you right off the bat is that apparently Roadhog's combo of the hook left click into the little melee attack, it now does 200 damage. At least that's what people are saying. So before it used to do 220 damage. Now, I don't know, I feel like quick melee, that nerf was maybe a little too drastic. I think 40 would have been more reasonable, because it's not just Roadhog that got nerfed. You got Genji, you got Mei's little combo, the freeze headshot into punch combo. Tracer relies so much on her melee as well. I feel like it's cutting down on a lot of people's DPS. But, hey, they have the data, so they can make these kind of calls. So we're going to have to see how this little melee change is going to play out. Blizzard seems to be, at least in the closed beta, pretty responsive with, balance changes and stuff. If there's a lot of people not liking something, they will change it. They won't wait months and months and months. They actually are pretty flexible. So, who knows? Maybe this melee change will be reverted. In fact, a couple of changes got reverted from the previous patch. For example, Genji's health was increased from 150 back up to 200. However, they nerfed his damage by 20%, the shuriken damage. Now, I am not sure if I like the direction of where they're taking Genji, right? I always thought of him as more like a super mobile glass cannon type kind of guy. And by nerfing his shurikens by 20% and the melee nerf, I just feel like so many of his combos are a lot weaker now. His ultimate's a lot weaker now. I don't know. I don't know if this is a good spot, but like I said, Blizzard, I'm sure if they get a lot of complaints and stuff, they'll go ahead and revert that change. But it looks like they're just giving his tankiness back, but taking away a lot of his defensive power. So, I don't know. Doesn't seem to fit along with the Genji theme, at least the Genji that I know. Now, if it was up to me, I would give Genji his damage back, but maybe have it so that his shurikens have a bit of damage drop off, because currently, at least to my knowledge, they don't. Which is pretty insane, given that they're shurikens, but I don't know, Genji's a fucking beast, man. It's on the wrist, making them shurikens hit really hard no matter where they're thrown from. Now, Bastion, his tank mode, which is of course his ultimate, the one that kills people in like one shot, the duration got nerfed by 2 seconds, so from 10 seconds to 8 seconds. I feel like this is a pretty reasonable nerf. Not much to comment there. Next up, we got Hanzo. Now, this is interesting. Hanzo, of course, the Japanese archer dude. His scatter arrow apparently used to be able to headshot, which is hilarious. There's a bunch of funny GIFs out there where people get headshotted by a scatter arrow when the Hanzo's looking the other direction. If I can show you guys, figure out how to download that GIF, I'll post it right now. But good God, this is a great change. It's sort of maintaining the scatter arrow's effectiveness, right? You can still shoot it at people's feet and it'll still do the full damage, but it will remove some of that crazy RNG that kind of gets associated with the skill. Now, next up we have Junkrat, and his Riptire got brought back down to 100 HP. It was originally, I think a couple patches ago, it was 50, and then it went up to 150, and now it's down to 100. Blizzard, I guess their way of balancing things, at least in the closed beta, is sort of going from one extreme to the other and trying to find that middle ground. Anyways, what they're saying right now is that the Riptire felt too tanky. And in my experience, Junkrat's Riptire has always been pretty easy to counter, unless people get really creative, right, and kind of flank you with the Riptire and explode it on you. But quite honestly, a lot of times I'm able to kill it anyways. Maybe a lot of people complained that they felt it was too tanky, but I always felt like it was, reasonable to take out. Next up, we have Mei, and this is interesting. This patch actually does not affect the way I play Mei. Because the way I play Mei is I rely on her primary fire, which is basically freezing her enemies, and then I combo in with a secondary fire to the head, and then a punch. So what they did was basically nerf the secondary fire. They gave it a damage fall off. They also gave it slower fire rate on the icicle shot, right? So that doesn't affect me that much because I'm more of a CQC Mei. Now, what's interesting is they buffed the primary fire and they lowered the time to freeze by 15%. So I don't know. I'm surprised people don't get frustrated when playing against the Mei, because quite honestly, I feel like Mei is probably the easiest person to duel with, right? Because you just gotta spray her ice in someone's general direction, and they're like already panicking because they're like, oh no, I gotta kill Mei before she freezes me. And yeah, I just feel like it's so easy to line up the shots and then, you know, combo in. Now, of course, the melee nerf does affect her whole combo, so we're going to have to see how that kind of plays into it overall. But, I mean, this patch doesn't really affect my the way I play Mei, the Mei way. Anyways, we have Symmetra up next, and her teleporter got nerfed. Now, this one I actually agree with, because the teleporter, I felt like it was constantly... It's so easy as Symmetra to build up your teleporter, right? So they basically increased the charge cost by 30%. So I think this is a pretty good move. I mean, her teleporter is so freaking strong. And for whatever reason, it's just so easy to build up those ultimate points. So it's pretty easy to pump out the teleport pad. So, you know, pretty decent change. I would like to see Symmetra get buffed in other ways, right? I feel like her turrets are a little too weak, and yeah, maybe increase the speed of her secondary shot, things like that. But the teleporter change was pretty welcome by me. Now, next up we have Winston, whose jump packs actually got buffed. The cooldown was reduced from 8 seconds to 6 seconds, so this is actually quite nice, because I've always felt like conflicted on whether or not I should save the jump packs for escape or initiation, but now that's decreased by 2 seconds. While that may not seem like a lot, it definitely makes it a lot more flexible as far as jumping in and out of combat. Next up, we have Zarya, which is essentially increasing the minimum damage of her primary, or I guess her gun in general, by 25%. And now this is quite nice, because if you guys don't know, Zarya basically gets her power from casting a shield on herself, casting a shield on her friendlies, and she basically converts damage done to that shield into attack power. So they've basically made her gun by default a little bit more powerful, so she doesn't have to rely on the shield, which is nice, because I always felt like her particle cannon did peanuts for damage when I didn't soak up enough of those shield points. Now, this next change has to do with my favorite hero of all of Overwatch, and that is, of course, Zenyatta. Not the racehorse, but the monk robot. Now, essentially what they did was nerfed the Discord Orb by allowing it to be removed by immunity effects, which is, of course, Mei's Cryo Freeze, the Zarya barriers, Zenyatta's Transcendence. Anything that makes you invincible, you'll remove that Discord Orb debuff. Now, of course, the Discord Orb makes you take 50 extra damage if it gets on you, and it won't get off of you unless Zenyatta dies or he recasts it to someone else. Now, this is decent. As much as I love Zenyatta, I do feel like the Discord Orb is pretty strong, and I'm so glad, so glad they didn't mess with its functionality, but just kind of buff the other characters a bit more. Anyways, guys, that's just about it for today's patch notes in Overwatch. I know a good number of you probably aren't in Overwatch, and a lot of you be like, why did you make this video? But I figured this would be good practice for me, at least as a channel, to kind of get in the habit of doing these. And I also want to kind of show you guys how Blizzard balances things. It's always interesting to see a developer's mindset, philosophy. You know, it's sort of nice to kind of see how a game that's about to be released is going to be balanced and how attentive they are to the community and stuff like that. So I just think it's an interesting little showcase, and hopefully it's, you know, informative to you guys, show you guys what to expect. Maybe you guys learned a little bit more of the game's mechanics from this video. But yeah, I guess that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed, and until next time, I'll see you in the next one.